Greetings, y'all. It is time for a little bedtime story. I haven't popped on here and done live reading in a little while. I just drank some water and I spilled it on myself. Hey, it's late. So I came across an online article. So this is going to be kind of weird. I'm going to be like reading the screen, so my face will probably look a little stressed out. And I won't be reading an actual book. I'm reading an article. Which is about Joseph Goebbels' 105-year-old secretary. She is still here. She says, "No one believes me now, but I knew nothing." This is by The Guardian, theguardian.com. And Kate Connolly interviewed Brunhilde Pomsel. Okay, so. All right. I'm popping out the chat just in case someone pops on here. So, you can listen to this at another time because I'm leaving this up. So here's the title of the picture. Brunhilde Pomsel worked at the heart of the Nazis' propaganda machine. As a film about her life is released, she discusses her lack of remorse and the private side of her monstrous boss. Okay. "It was rare for us to see him in the morning," says Brunhilde Pomsel, and I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. It might be Brunhilde Pomsel. Her eyes closed and chin in her hand as she recalls her former boss. He'd walk up to the steps from his little palace near the Brandenburg Gate, onto which his huge propaganda ministry was attached. He'd trip up the steps like a little duke through his library into his beautiful office on Unter den Linden. She smiles at the images, noting how elegant the furniture was, the carefree atmosphere where she sat in an antechamber off Joseph Goebbels' office with 5 other secretaries, how his nails were always neatly manicured. We always knew once he had arrived, but we didn't normally see him until he left his office, coming through a door that led directly into our room, so we could ask him any questions we had, or let him know who had called. Sometimes his children came to visit, and were so excited to visit Daddy at his work. They would come with the family's lovely Airedale. They were very polite and would curtsy and shake our hands." Pomsel is giving one of the first and last in-depth interviews of her life at the age of 105. Oh, she passed away at 106, I guess, recently. When was this published, this article? Oh, wow, August 15th, 2016? Or is that? Oh, wow, this article's from 2016. Interesting. Wow, okay. And having lost her sight last year, she says she is relieved that her days are numbered. Oh my. "And the little time that's left to me, and I hope it will be months rather than years." Well, she was right. "I just cling to the hope that the world doesn't turn upside down again as it did then, though there have been some ghastly developments, haven't there? I'm relieved I never had any children that I have to worry about." Aww. So what is the motivation for effectively breaking her silence only now, as probably the last living survivor from the Nazi leadership's inner circle? "It is absolutely not about clearing my conscience," she says. While she admits she was at the heart of the Nazi propaganda machine, with her tasks including massaging downward statistics about falling soldiers, as well as exaggerating the number of rapes of German women by the Red Army, she describes it somewhat bizarrely as just another job A German Life compiled from 30 hours of conversation with her was recently released at the Munich Film Festival. It is the reason why she is willing to politely answer my questions. It is important for me, when I watch the film, to recognize that mirror image in which I can understand everything I've done wrong, she says. But really, I didn't do anything other than type in Goebbels' office. Often, end-of-life statements such as these are suffused with a sense. Often end-of-life statements such as these are suffused with a sense of guilt. But Pomsel is unrepentant, and she holds court, gesticulating wildly, with a broad grin on her face. It seems as if she even takes something restorative from her insistence that she's simply acted the same way as most other Germans. Those people nowadays who say they would have stood up against the Nazis, I believe they are sincere in meaning that, but believe me, most of them wouldn't have. After the rise of the Nazi Party, the whole country was as if under a kind of spell, she insists. I could open myself up to the accusations that I wasn't interested in politics, but the truth is, the idealism of youth might easily have led to you having your neck broken. She recalls being handed the case file of the anti-Nazi activist and student Sophie Scholl, who was active in the White Rose Resistance movement. Scholl was executed for high treason in February 1943 after distributing anti-war leaflets at the University of Munich. I was told by one of Goebbels' special advisors to put it in the safe and not to look at it. So I didn't, and was quite pleased with myself that he trusted me, and that my keenness to honor that trust was stronger than my curiosity to open that file. Wow. Pomsel describes herself as a product of Prussian discipline, recalling a father who, when he returned from fighting in the First World War, when she was 7, banned chamber pots from the family bedrooms. If we wanted to go to the toilet, we had to brave all the witches and evil spirits to get to the water closet. She and her siblings were spanked with the carpet beater whenever they were disobedient. That stayed with me, that Prussian something, that sense of duty. I did also hear, I haven't verified it being true or not, but I did also hear that there were books on how to discipline children at the time that were incredibly abusive and torturous. All right, where am I? She was 31 and working for the state broadcaster as a well-paid secretary, a job she secured only after she became a paid-up member of the Nazi Party, when someone recommended her for a transfer to the Ministry of Propaganda in 1942. The Ministry of Propaganda. Only an infectious disease would have stopped me, she insists. I was flattered because it was a reward for being the fastest typist at the radio station. She remembers her payslip, on which a range of tax-free allowances were listed, alongside the 275 mark salary, a small fortune compared with what most of her friends were earning. She notes how life for her vivacious red-haired Jewish friend, Eva Lowenthal, became increasingly difficult after Adolf Hitler came to power. Pomsel was also shocked by the arrest of a hugely popular announcer at the radio station, who was sent to a concentration camp as punishment for being gay. But she says that largely she remained in a bubble, unaware of the destruction being meted out by the Nazi regime on its enemies, despite the fact she was at the physical heart of the system. I know no one ever believes us nowadays. Everyone thinks we knew everything. We knew nothing. It was all kept well secret. She refuses to admit she was naive in believing the Jews had been disappeared, including her friend Eva, had been sent to villages in the Sudetenland on the grounds that those territories were in need of being repopulated. So that's what they were told. We believed it. We swallowed it. It seemed entirely plausible, she says. Huh. She was gifted things by Magda Goebbels, Joe's wife, and so it shows a picture of her in the suit she was given. When the flat she shared with her parents was destroyed in a bombing raid, Goebbels' wife Magda helped to soften the blow by presenting her with a silk-lined suit of blue cheviot wool. I've never possessed anything as chic as that before or since, she says. They were both very nice to me. She recalls her boss as being short but well kept, of a gentlemanly countenance, who wore suits of the best cloth and always had a light tan. He had well-groomed hands. He probably had a manicure every day, she says, laughing at the thought. There was really nothing to criticize about him. She even felt sorry for him because of the limp he had, which he made up for by being a bit arrogant. Only occasionally did she get a glimpse of the man who turned lying into an art in pursuit of the Nazis' murderous goals. She was terrified to see him on stage at Berlin's Sport Palace delivering his infamous Total War speech in February of 1943. She and another colleague had been given ringside seats just behind Magda Goebbels. I think it's Goebbels and not Goebbels. I'm just going to say Goebbels. Or Goebbels. It was shortly after the Battle of Stalingrad, and Goebbels hoped to get popular support to pull out all the stops to fight the threats facing Germany. No actor could have been any better in the transformation from a civilized, serious person into a ranting, rowdy man. In the office, he had a kind of noble elegance. And then to see him there, like a raging midget, you just can't imagine a greater contrast. The details Pomsel chooses to focus on may reflect the way she has edited her own story so that she feels more comfortable with it. But it also is conceivable that a combination of ignorance and awe, as well as the protection offered by the huge office complex in the government quarter, really did shield her from much of reality. It was the day after Hitler's birthday in 1945 that her life as she knew it came to an abrupt halt. Goebbels and his entourage were ordered to join Hitler in his subterranean air raid shelter, the so-called Führerbunker, during the last days of the war. It felt as if something inside me had died, says Pomsel. We tried to make sure we didn't run out of alcohol. That was urgently needed in order to retain the numbness. She lifts an index finger as she takes pains to tell events in their right order, recalling how Goebbels' assistant Gunther Schwagelmann came with the news on April 30th that Hitler had killed himself, following a day later by Goebbels. We asked him, and his wife as well. Yes, and the children too. She bows her head and shakes it as she adds, we are dumbstruck. She and her fellow secretaries set about cutting up white food sacks and turning them into large surrender flag to present to the Russians. Discussing their strategy ahead of their inevitable arrest, Pomsel told her colleagues she would tell the truth, that I had worked as a shorthand typist in Joseph Goebbels' propaganda ministry. She was sentenced to 5 years incarceration in various Russian prison camps in and around Berlin. It was no bed of roses, is all she will say about that time. It was only when she returned home that she became aware of the Holocaust, she insists, referring to it as the matter of the Jews. She quickly resumed a life not dissimilar to the one she had had when she found secretarial work at the state broadcaster, once again, working her way up to become an executive secretary to its director of programs and enjoy a privileged life of well-paid work and travel before retiring aged 60 in 1971. But it would take her a full 6 decades after the end of the war before she made any inquiries about her Jewish school friend Eva. When the Holocaust Memorial was unveiled in 2005, she took a trip from her home in Munich to see it for herself. I went into the information center and told them I myself was missing someone, an Eva Lowenthal. A man went through the records and soon tracked down her friend who had been deported to Auschwitz in November 1943 and had been declared dead in 1945. The list of names on the machine in which we found her just kept unrolling non-stop down the screen, she said, leaning her head back, the fingertips of one hand tracing the line of her necklace. So Nazism is a very complicated period of our history, which has not been talked about enough. I learned about it in Hebrew school and was horrified, and I don't think it was a very healthy way to teach me about it either. How do you process that? I mean, one way that I processed it was, thanks for the thumbs up, was to say, I'm going to do everything I can so that this doesn't happen again. I mean, I was horrified about what I was hearing. And to be honest, this is the first time I'm reading this article, and it's actually quite shocking. This woman was at the heart, working side inside, secretary to Hitler and Goebbels, or Goebbels or Goebbels. She didn't know the Jews were being killed. She thought they were sent to populate another land. Propaganda is powerful. If you have any other stories about propaganda, please put them in the comments below. If you saw this movie, let me know what you thought of it. I haven't seen it. I guess it was released in like 2016 or 2017. I'm going to play the trailer for you. I know you can't see it, but oh, the volume's not on. Oh, it is. You hear it?
Seriösen Menschen.
All right, that's her voice. Wow. Y'all have a good night. Think about this. Allow it to give you love. Marinate with it. Feel the energy. See what it does for your brain and your thoughts. And let's keep the conversation going. Would it be possible that people are under a spell now? Is it possible that propaganda can exist? Or should we believe everything that's going on? What do you think? What do we know is real and not? Is it possible that this kind of propaganda can be repeated? Is it true that many can be fooled this easily? I thought you could only fool some people sometimes, and you can't fool all the people all the time. Now we see the light. Wow. That was your live reading, coming straight to you from the ATL. Aviva is signing out. And I will see you Wednesday for Qigong. Wish me luck finishing the other video projects I'm editing for you. Hopefully some more comedy coming your way because those giggle, laugh vibrations are lifted and contagious and good for your immune system. And we need some more of that. Thanks for being you.